basic training, we've got something called Day Zero. If you haven't been a part of it, let me describe it a little bit. You're on the bus, you're waiting, you've gotten your gear at this point, you've been around for a little bit, but Day Zero is where you're really getting started. The drill sergeant jumps onto the bus after you stop, shouting ensues. It's chaos, and you're running around like a wild man. If you want to be able to understand the picture of that experience without maybe that level of commitment, go ahead and just turn on The Wizard of Oz. Go see what the flying monkeys do to the scarecrow. Like that's what it's like. It's chaos because the military has a philosophy that wherever you are, we're gonna bring you in, we're gonna apply pressure and tension and stress, and we're gonna kind of wear you down and whittle you down until we can start afresh and build you into something a little bit better. And this is honestly one of the reasons that I joined the military back in the day, was because I wanted purpose. Like I wanted to be able to reroute my life out of the direction that I had fallen into. And the truth is, there's a beauty in this strategy. Like this strategy actually isn't terribly different than what Jesus does with us as we mature as disciples. Here's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Jesus shouts in front of you, drop and give me repentance. Like I'm not saying that that's how he engages with us, but what I am saying is that we need to be poured out, that we become less, that he becomes more. And stress and tension and crisis are often opportunities for us to grow in our character, to grow in maturity, and to lean even deeper into our purpose. See, there's hope in that. There's joy in that. There's peace in that. Not everything needs to be fun or easy or simple, but that he is near and he is growing and maturing his kingdom and his disciples. Now, and so there's a phrase that I want us to kind of just press in today with this in mind, knowing that crisis, stress, pain can be opportunities for us to press deeper into our purpose as kingdom warriors. And it goes like this: for the joy that is ahead, endure the cross. For the promises that he has laid before us and at our feet, that we are meant to press into today, knowing that today is an opportunity to sacrifice, to turn over our lives, to press into relationship and allow not what is right in front of us, but what is before us, that is promises, that there is joy ahead, and the story doesn't end. It doesn't end here. And in the story of Esther, the pain, the stress, the fear, all is kind of starting to build a little bit, right? Like she's won the beauty contest. She's now the queen, and yet things don't seem to be going the way that we thought they should. Mordecai, her cousin who raised her as an adoptive father, pressed into that relationship, lived into his purpose, has been faithful time and time again. Like he warned an evil king. Even though the king was evil, he warned him about a plot of an assassination, and he got no accolades, he got no reward, he got no credit, and yet he still chose to do what was right. And his reward was nothing. Nothing happened. He didn't get credit. In fact, a guy named Haman got the glory. A guy named Haman got the promotion. And what did Mordecai do? He said, no, I won't bow to Haman. Like, I won't submit authority over to an evil man. He says, I won't bow. And so Haman, enraged, completely owned by his pride, says, no, you know what? It's not good enough for me only to kill Mordecai. I want to kill all of his people. And that's where we pick up in the story. Let's go ahead and dive in. It's, chapter 3, verse 7. In the 12th year of King Xerxes, in the first month, the month of Nisan, the poor, that is a lot, was cast in the presence of Haman to select a day and a month. And the lot fell on the 12th month, the month of Adar. So Mordecai doesn't bow. There's a decree or a decision internally of Haman where he's like, hey, I'm going to take out not just Mordecai, but all of the Jews. And so he says, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cast a lot. And that lot is going to determine what month I attack the Jews. Now, a lot, if you don't know what it is, it's scholars don't fully know, but what we believe it is that they roll some kind of dice, and that is for them to understand the will of their God. And you know that this is the practice that is done by believers and non-believers, and yet over and over again in Scripture, whether you're a believer or non, we see God still working in the background, that his sovereignty still reigns true. So he casts lots. It determines that that the attack is going to happen on Mordecai and the rest of the Jews is going to take place in about roughly 11 months. That's when it needs to go down. And you want to talk about enduring the cross for the joy that is ahead. Like Haman's not enduring anything, right? Like Haman's like, I won't endure pain. I want my joy now. He doesn't say, hey, the joy that's ahead. He says, I want gratification, what's in front of me right now. This guy didn't bow. Okay, I'm going to take him out. It's a quick response without an expectation of anything further ahead. Verse 8, it says, then Haman said to King Xerxes, there is a certain people dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom who keep themselves separate. That sounds okay, doesn't it? Like we're meant to be in the world, but not of the world. We're meant to be set apart. He says they keep themselves separate. Their customs are different from those of all other people, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let a decree be issued to destroy them. And I will give 10,000 talents of silver to the king's administrators for the royal treasury. So we say, hey, like king, like I know what's best for you. Like I know that there's a people in this society, this kingdom that you have in Persia. I know that they're causing all kinds of issues, and it's in your best interest to take care of them. This is, again, Haman is a man ruled by selfish ambition. He says, I'm going to take care of the Jews and also with that Mordecai. And he's in. Like, I give him credit there. He was like, no, I'll even to make this happen, I'm willing to pay. I'm willing to buy in. And so it says he's going to give 10,000 talents of silver, which is a lot of money. We're talking 60 million days of wages. This is a massive amount. He's a highly motivated individual. He's wanting to get this done. He's got the king's ear, and he's willing to pay to make it happen. Here's the kicker. When we talk about purpose, there is a high likelihood that Haman believed that this was his purpose. Like there's a high likelihood that he's like, man, like this is going to fulfill me, that I'm going to take care of the Jews because I'm an Agagite. Like I'm going to avenge King Agag when he was destroyed by the kingdom of King Saul. He's like, hey, I'm going to get back here and I'm going to make some things happen. He probably felt incredibly fulfilled, felt like he was pressing into his purpose. But let me tell you, your purpose was never meant to be built around evil deeds. In fact, godly purpose is never built around evil deeds. And yet, Haman, thinking that he's living into his purpose, deceived more than anybody else around him, is pressing into a purpose that was never meant to be his. So what's he doing? He's gonna kill the Jews. I wonder if that story sounds a little bit familiar. Maybe a little bit more recent, where one group of people has made it their determination that they are going to exterminate the Jews. I bring this up because just yesterday, like I woke up yesterday morning in Czech Republic. We were bouncing between Czech and Poland, and while we were there, we were meeting with a new mission partner that I'm above and beyond excited to get to talk to you guys about. We'll actually talk about them a little more next week. But while we were there, we went to Auschwitz and Birkenau. And we went there in this place. And we walked into rooms that were filled with 80,000 shoes that were worn by people who were killed there. And then we walked into the gas chamber and saw the holes in the ceiling where Zyklon B was poured in, the gas was poured in. We walked to the train tracks where Nazi doctors stood as the train arrived and pointed in the direction that determined whether they were only going to be around in Auschwitz for a few hours or if they were going to be there as prisoners and slaves. And as I looked at this profound evil, and I looked at all the things that happened, that were allowed to happen to allow this atrocity to occur, it brought my mind to Esther. because the story of Esther can feel very much like a story. And when I'm walking through that camp, I was like, man, there's something way deeper and way uglier that I'm choosing to miss. Like there's a weight to this story, and there's a crisis happening here. And in the midst of the crisis, in the midst of the pain, in the midst of the journey that we are on, every single one of us, like we should have the heartbeat of saying, like, I endure this. Like I'm enduring this, stepping into long suffering. That's a fruit of the Spirit. And that's actually the fruit of the Spirit, that when everything around you is going wrong, it's saying, I'm not going to let go of the other fruit. Like I'm going to keep my joy. I'm going to keep my peace. I'm going to keep pressing into my relationship with Jesus despite everything that's going on around me. It's saying, no, I'm here, Lord. For the joy that is ahead, I endure the cross. For the promises that Jesus gave me, I'm going to walk in peace, in harmony, in long suffering with where I am. Verse 10. So the king, who hears all these things from Haman, like he hears it and he responds in this way. It says, so the king took his signet ring, that represents his authority. He took his signet ring from his own finger and gave it to Haman's son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. Keep the money, the king said to Haman, and do with the people as you please. So he turns over his authority. King Ahasuerus, King Xerxes, whichever version of your Bible you're reading, says, no, I'm not going to worry about it. This doesn't sound like my problem anyway. You're trustworthy. You're somebody I can lean on. You take care of it. You do as you please. You know, there's a similar story that happens in the Bible where a group of people make the determination that they're going to, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take care of this person. And there's all these other people around, and they're just standing in silence. And then they're not standing in silence anymore, but they're also cheering alongside these Pharisees saying, yeah, we're going to take Jesus out too. And that's all built on lies. I think that's the tension point of this, is that, yes, Jesus was killed based on lies that were told about him. And we know that right now Mordecai's people are under attack because lies that Haman is spreading about them. And the king not doing his part. You think about Pontius Pilate with Jesus, goes, I just wash my hands. You do with him as you please. And we see King Xerxes do the same thing. He's like, all right, you do with them as you please. Here's the kicker. Is that if you remember last week, you know that there was 2 assassins that had decided to kill the king. And there was this is what Scripture tells us, there was a thorough investigation, and when they were found to be guilty, then they were executed. And yet in this instance, Haman is talking not about 2 people, he's talking about an entire people group. He's like, all the Jews. And the investigation goes like this: I trust you, Haman. I'm sure you've got this covered. And I think this brings up something really important when it comes to the topic of purpose. Because our purpose is meant to be founded on truth, and the question is, where do you get your truth? Where do you get information? Like, how do you process through and vet through the information that is placed in front of you? Because the reality is, every single one of us is flooded in a way that no one else in the history of mankind has ever been. Flooded with information. The question is, where do you get your truth? Like, how do you determine what in front of you should believe? Like, what is Haman and what is actually true, good, real, and beautiful that we should lean into? Like, what social media posts? Like, how do you, when you see that, when you see it on your Twitter, when you hear it from your best friend, when you hear it in a rumor mill, whatever it is, and you go, hey, you know what, this is something that's getting me a little riled up, and rather than just reacting, how do you take a step back and make sure that you respond biblically? How do you understand if it's a lie, if it's Haman, or if it's something that you're actually meant to press into? See, this matters because if we're not enduring the true cross, enduring truly what Jesus has called us to and let us in, and we start believing lies, it's going to lead us into a faulty purpose that can't hold the weight of our existence. It's not going to lead us into the joy that is ahead, but it's going to call us to other places, doing other things, making promises that they could never keep. So we got this king who abdicates his role. He doesn't do what he's supposed to do. He doesn't live into his purpose as king, as leader. Remember, we talked about this in my first week preaching on this, that King Xerxes isn't a leader. Like, he's following the whims of everybody around him. And he goes, no, I abdicate my purpose. And then you got Haman, who's living into a broken purpose. And this is what happens next. It says in verse 12, it says, then on the 13th day of the first month, the royal secretaries were summoned. They wrote out in the script of each province and in the language of each people all Haman's orders to the kings, satraps, the governors of the various provinces, and the nobles of the various peoples. These were written in the name of King Xerxes himself and sealed with his own ring. Dispatches were sent by couriers to all the king's provinces with the order to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the Jews, young and old, women and children, on a single day, the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar, and to plunder their goods. A copy of the text of the edict was to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationality so they would be ready for that day. Boom. Like, it's declared, the law is written. It says, kill the people and take their stuff. Kill the people and take all their belongings. Kill the Jews and then take what you can get from what's left behind. Like, this is the decree. This is Haman living into the purpose that he thought that he should have. This is evil. They're saying, doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the gender, doesn't matter, really none of it matters. As long as they're a Jew, we need to take them out. I know I've already mentioned it, but just a reminder, this is all about Mordecai. This is all about Mordecai making the decision that he wasn't going to bow to Haman. This is Mordecai, who has been faithful and true and righteous from the very beginning. Like, before we even meet him, he was raising up his cousin as his own daughter. Like, he was living into purpose in ways that I think most of us should really latch onto and dream of doing in our lives. And yet his reward wasn't the promotion. It wasn't a gold star. It wasn't accolades. It was this. And when that happens, when the decree is made, and I just want you to know, like, there's not a lot of hope at this point in the story. Like, if you remember the law of the Medes and the Persians, then you remember that the law of the Medes and Persians says that when a law is made by the king, even the king cannot remove that law. And this law is made that on a single day, that all the people in Persia were going to come down upon the Jews and take them out. Like, why were they given so much time? Well, it tells us so that they would be ready. Like, they're saying, hey, prepare up. Like, things are about to happen, and we're calling you to kill the Jews and take their stuff. And it's moments like this when the pressure is applied to purpose. Like, when I believe I'm living into my purpose and I'm being faithful and I'm following the Lord where He has me, it's moments like this where darkness starts to sneak in, where it starts to become really easy to believe lies. Like, God, you called me here, and yet, like, why aren't you here with me? Look at it. Like, God's name's not even in the book of Esther. Like, He's not there, at least, like, you can't see it, obviously. You got to look for His fingerprints. And it's in those moments where, like, God, you called me, but why can't I see your name written on the pages? Like, why don't I see your face? Why don't you feel as close to me as you did before? And that questioning can quickly lead to doubting. You know, while I was in the Czech Republic, I met a guy who is a missionary in the Ukraine. It was beautiful. We had all these different people from different countries all over Eastern Europe. And I met this guy from the Ukraine, and he was just sharing about how like ministry has been so hard for him. Because as he partners with other pastors, people are just disappearing. And my heart broke for him. And as the time together that we had went on, we went to our next session, and worship music is playing. And I look around, and we got people from Bulgaria, they're worshiping. And I see people from Hungary, and they're worshiping. And people from Czech and from Poland, and they're worshiping. And then I see my friend from the Ukraine, and he's worshiping. Like pressure has been applied to his life in a way that most of us can only imagine. And he's there not forgetting his purpose and who he was called to be, just giving glory to the King of the universe. For the joy that is ahead, we endure the cross. And that he's like, no, I'm gonna live into my purpose. And my purpose is to raise his name even higher. I'm gonna live into my purpose despite my circumstances not making any kind of sense to me. I don't understand why I'm here, but I understand who called me here. And so I too will be faithful. See, when we get in these moments of crisis and these moments of pain as we press into our purpose, one, God uses that to build us up and to transform us and to lead us deeper into maturity. But also, I just want to remind us that we're not a people that are called to believe lies. In other words, don't doubt in the dark what God told you in the light. Like, don't doubt when the darkness comes. Like you and I, like we're not meant to doubt that we're supposed to be there. We're actually meant to be reminded to be a light, to shine light on who Jesus is. Like we are meant to be a people where we sing in the dark. I think about Acts 16 where Paul and Silas are in jail. It's past midnight. And what are they doing? All the prisoners are listening to what? Paul and Silas as they sing praise to God. Why? Because God's people, you want to talk about a purpose? That when crisis comes, when the pain gets difficult, when you're like, I don't even know if I've got enough strength to get through the day, but I can get through this moment because we're a people who sing in the dark. We don't need to, when darkness shows up, we don't need to doubt God's call. We just need to realize that we are a people that don't believe. We don't believe lies. I'll tell you that there is not a single time when my family has taken a big leap of faith, a big step into what we believed God was calling us into. There is not a single time where very quickly after that we weren't riddled with disease or death or loss or heartache. And every single time that happened, this is like one of the things that I just love about my bride. Every time that happens, through the tears, Jenny would say, this just proves we're supposed to be doing this. She goes, like we're a target in this moment. The enemy knows we're a threat, and we need to keep marching forward. Like, see, as crisis and as pain shows up, look, like Mordecai is facing it right now. Like he is in it right now, and you'll see as we press in even further into this story, he doesn't stop being the righteous man that he was called to be. Like he doesn't doubt his purpose. In fact, he challenges others deeper into their purpose. Why? Because we don't doubt in the dark what God told us in the light. That for the joy that is ahead, we endure the cross. We know the promises that he has for us, and we trust in that. We don't need to be surprised when things don't go our way. And here's the other thing, and this is the one that rattles me a little bit, is I don't need to be surprised when Haman hates me. I don't need to be surprised when I'm not a delight to every single person in the world. Why? Like Jesus told us that the world is going to be against us. There's just a reality to the fact that I'm not going to be the guy for everybody. And here's the catch. Part of my purpose, part of Mordecai's purpose, part of your purpose is to love others. Like you want to live into your purpose, like let that be the primary target, and you'll start living your life a little bit differently. And when I say love others, here's the deal. Easy to love John, hard to love Judas. And yet Jesus doesn't say, hey, just love the ones who are easy and convenient. He says, love the trolls. Like love the ones who are difficult, that are grimy, that live under a bridge. Like love the ones that maybe are a little bit tougher for you to love. Those are the ones I'm calling to you. That's what purpose looks like. And I want you to pay careful attention to it because we get this skewed. I said to love, not to be loved. Like my call is not to be loved, it's to love others. Now here's the deal. I want you to be loved. Like being loved is a good thing. Like I want you to be enjoyed by others and cared for well. That's not your purpose. And if you believe that's your purpose, you're going to turn inward. But if your purpose is to love others, you're going to pursue and you're going to chase and you're going to thrive in a way that you never knew was possible. Why? Because when you live with others, you receive. It continues. It says, listen, crisis is happening. The edict is made. Things are tough. The couriers, they went out, spurred on by the king's command, and the edict was issued in the citadel of Susa. The king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Susa was bewildered. This is flippant on purpose. Like, there's a decree to kill all the Jews, and what do Haman and the king do? They sit down to drink. This is we're numb to it. Like, we're not upset by it. We're not startled by what's going on. See, if there are two options when the cross shows up, when things get difficult, when crisis arrives, two options. You can endure it or you can be numb to it. As I walked through the concentration camp, there was a weight. Like there was a weight in the space that we were walking in. A weight in knowing all the terrible things that occurred and honestly not knowing most of the ones that occurred. But not for everyone. Like there were stories that I heard from the guide, and there were also people who were just engaging a little bit differently that didn't seem to feel the weight. You've got people taking selfies. You've got people having loud conversations. You've got people making jokes in a space that represents such terrible evil and tremendous loss. And I think this is one of the dangers that we have, is that we live in a time where it is so easy to become numb. We process information through technology in ways that maybe we were never meant to process them through, and what many of us don't do is we don't guard the things that go into our head. We don't guard our eyes, and what happens is we see more and more things that maybe we were never built to see, and we too, like the king and like Haman, can quickly become numb. Or maybe it's your environment. Maybe the things around you have led you to be numb. This happens in marriages all the time, where you don't like the way things are going, and you don't like the way things are going, and so you stop caring about the way things are going. And I'll tell you, like, as a church that deeply believes that we're not meant to be numb, but we're meant to endure the cross for the joy that is ahead, that we're meant to understand that our marriage is meant to point to something far greater, which means that, like, when things are difficult, that's part of the promise. Like, when you sit down before the pastor, before he officiates the wedding, he doesn't go, like, do you promise for better? No, he goes, for better or for worse. Why? Because there's times that's hard, and the gospel story isn't that everything will be easy. It's that in the difficult, that God can build things up too, that God can do tremendous work, and we too are not called to be numb. The other side of this verse, I think, is pretty astounding too, though. It's the people of Susa were bewildered. And that might sound okay at face value. It's like, yeah, like they're shocked, they're surprised that this edict came out. Like they know people who are Jews. They know the people around them, and they're startled by it. But I'll tell you, being startled and being even a little bit upset is not enough. I'll say this. In Auschwitz, I read a sign, and it said this: the 11th commandment, don't be a bystander. Like, I know that that's maybe being a little bit liberal with the 10 commandments, but I think the point stands. Like, if I'm called to love, and I'm called to engage with people, and I'm called to know the people around me, that also means that I'm meant to stand up when things are wrong. That I'm not just meant to be bewildered, but I'm also meant to use my voice for what's good, true, and beautiful for the king. I'll say that this is one of the reasons that we have the marriage retreat coming up in April. Because we see that, like that happens. I know the statistics of how many marriages fall apart and land in divorce, and I just don't think that should be us. Like I know that there are marriages that you're at the point right now where you're like, man, I'm just numb. I'm just trying to get through. I'm just trying to make the day. And I'll just say, we've got something for you. We've got a place where we don't want to be a bystander. We want to invite you in and say, hey, we're here alongside you. And I'll also say this, like if your marriage is in a good place, view it as maintenance. Because we don't need to wait until our house is on fire. Like we can press in together. This is us saying we're not bystanders in this. Like we want to walk beside you, but you have to be willing to walk too. It continues, it says in chapter 4, when Mordecai learned of all that had been done, he tore his clothes, put on a sackcloth and ashes, and went out into the city, wailing loudly and bitterly. But he went only as far as the king's gate, because no one clothed in sackcloth was allowed to enter it. In every province to which the edict and order of the king came, which, side note, was all of them, there was great mourning among the Jews with fasting, weeping, and wailing. Many lay in sackcloth and ashes. Now, sackcloth and ashes is not just saying, hey, we're upset. Like, it's not just saying, hey, things, they're just not going our way. It's way beyond that. It's I'm undone. Like hope has left me, I am despairing, and I don't know what to do. It's this raw emotion and understanding that hope is lost. And hope, let me tell you, outside of knowing the joy that is ahead, outside of knowing that you are the people that God has a covenant with and He says that He's going to be there with you, outside of knowing who God is and His presence resting over the people, outside of that, there is no hope. Like things don't look good. The decree has been made and the king can't even change it. Hope seems lost. And they're mourning, and it says, and Mordecai stopped at the palace gate because you couldn't go through the gate if you were wearing a sackcloth. See, the palace had a policy, and they said, hey, like if you're going to be before the king, you need to dress the right way. If you're going to come before the king, you need to look the part and behave the way that you need. You need to act right. You need to act like you've got it all together. Listen, if you want the accolades, you want the credit, you want the gold star, you better act the part. Don't show up with sackcloths. Don't be wailing here. Don't be upset in the presence of the king. And yet, I think this should point to, for us, the lowercase king that Xerxes is. Because the true king of the universe, the one who never falls off of his throne, the one that we worship and praise, the king of the Jews, he says something different in Matthew 11. He says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Sometimes your purpose is going to lead you to a place of brokenness. Sometimes your purpose is going to lead you to a place where I've got nothing left. Like I've given everything that I have, Lord. And God, you gave me strength and I ran out of that too. And I'm at my wit's end, and where the palace of King Xerxes says, hey, do not come to the king when you're not right. Jesus says, come to me, you who are weary and burdened. Like you who've got nothing left. You who have been outcast, downtrodden, left on the side, nothing left to offer. You, that's who I want, you. And He calls you home. Why? That He can give you rest. Think of the lost sheep, where the good shepherd runs out into the wilderness, and when he finds the lost sheep, he's not upset with it. He doesn't yell at it. He picks it up over his shoulders. He comes home and he rejoices. He says, no, like come to me. Like I want you. Like not because of who you are, but because of who He is. That's purpose. And yet the world tells us, don't go to the king. Don't bring your brokenness. Don't wail. Don't be upset. Pretend like everything is fine. Side note, He already knows. Like He already knows what's going on, and yet we feel like we need to dress the part and act like everything's okay. Y'all, again, like not to harp on marriages too much, but this is why we've got the retreat, that we can stop pretending and we can just be honest about where we are. And if it's good, celebrate that. And if it's difficult, like let us rally around you so that you can celebrate later. For the joy that is ahead. Haman was focused on the joy right now. Haman was avoiding the cross by all measures and means. Haman wasn't interested in that. And yet God's people, you want to talk about living into purpose, for the joy that is ahead, we endure the cross. So here's my question as we close. As the band comes out, they're not going to come out. Have you lost sight of the joy that is ahead? Because I think sometimes I get so fixated on the place that I am. And when I'm looking down at my feet, I forget where God is, and I get upset because his name's not written into the pages. And as I get more upset, I continue looking more inward and focusing on myself. And I start to lose grip of my purpose. And I start to lose grip of who he says that I am, and that's just not meant to be. See, there's a joy that is ahead. When I say that, I'm not talking about this life. I'll tell you, there are some people where in this life, their purpose is to suffer for the Lord. Like, I see this time and time again. I see this with people with chronic illnesses. I see this with people who go through tremendous tragedy. I see this over and over again where God says, no, like I've got you here. And one of your purposes, one of your key purposes here is in the midst of the fire, you're lifting my name up. Why? Because when you're on fire, everybody else is watching. And what they get to see is that you praise God even in the midst of the storm. But that doesn't happen if we're not looking to the joy that is ahead. Listen, there's eternity with God. There's an eternity far beyond the today that we live in. Like man was made for the day, and the day was made for man. And you were placed here on purpose, but you weren't placed here to stay here. Like there's a destiny written into the hearts of every single one of us, and it looks like eternity with the Creator if only we would accept the gift that he offers. And so, how are you doing with that? Like, are you so busy looking at the cross, looking at the challenge and the difficult and the things that you are facing that you forget the joy that is ahead? Like, if that's you, it's okay. We need to recognize that and let this be a moment where we realize that our eyes really need to be fixated on Jesus. And Jesus, he's not on the cross anymore. He got down. And he invites us to spend eternity with him. Would you pray with me? Jesus, there's a lot going on. I know with even a snowstorm that there could be even more going on right after this message. Like, Lord, I know that there's fears in things going on in the world right now. I know that there's hearts that are currently shaken because of personal experiences that they're going through. I know that there's marriages that you're holding together, but it still feels like they're slipping. There are lives that are struggling right now in this moment. And Lord, I just pray over us that you give us eyes to see the joy that is ahead. That we can have the long suffering that you have invited us into, that we could be a transformed creation, leaning into who you say we are, even when the world whispers lies. God, we love you and we praise you, and it is you we lift up. In your name, amen.